The day has finally come to say goodbye to my shelter-in-place home of the last few months, Ashland, Oregon. It's been a long journey, but this is the day I give this up. I got a couple of things to do to sort of wrap up life here at the apartment. I need to complete a closeout checklist. Technically, I don't have to leave till tomorrow morning, but I'm going to do all the cleaning up tonight, and I'm already living back in the van anyway. I have been using the shower, so I need to finish cleaning out the bathroom. I do have some dirty dishes in the sink that still need to be taken care of because I knew I was coming back to do some final cleaning. And also, like, I ate in there yesterday, mostly because I was doing some stuff before I, went to bed. So there's some dishes to do. There's some apartment cleaning to do. There's a really ugly glare on this camera. So I'm gonna take these keys, go in the apartment. Today is completely dedicated to just cleaning up, getting the apartment ready for me to be gone. I didn't quite get to accomplish what I came up here to do, but a lot about life has changed. So I'm interested to see what this next chapter is gonna be. time to get real about this whole apartment versus van life stuff. You might have noticed there was a costume change halfway through the day. By that, I mean my clothes changed. I took my last bath today. I definitely wanted to go ahead and have a bath and not a shower because, hey, there's a bathtub. And the bathtub is something I definitely get to rarely experience. Whereas showers, I could go, tomorrow to a truck stop and have a shower. So I have the last of my food. I don't know if you can see it. There's like a insulated bag by the door. That's the last of the stuff that was in the fridge that needs to get moved to the van. I've taken everything else to the van pretty much except the camera that I'm filming on right now, which is just my old cell phone and myself, obviously. But before I left, while I was sitting here, I figured I'd go ahead and shoot my last bit of video in this room and talk about sort of the van versus the apartment and sort of my feelings about it on the other side when I'm about to lose it and have no choice. So, the bed. I don't know if this was a queen or a full or what it was, but obviously I had like a huge bed inside the apartment with a real mattress. I don't know the last time I slept on a real mattress. For this amount of time, maybe like 3 years ago. I've definitely had like stayed places because I've done pet sitting and, with friends briefly, but like I've been here, I just realized this. So I got here in what was that? March? Was it? Must have been because I was here April, May. I was supposed to leave in April. So yeah, I got here. I didn't forget what I got. March. So like for 2.5 to 3 months, like I've had an apartment. I've not lived daily, uninterrupted in an apartment this long for quite a while. And I'm a liar saying it's 3 years. For some reason, I'm jumping all the way back to Maryland. It's been closer to like 2.5. Yeah. Because I've been in the van almost 2 years. I've had some pet sitting. I had a real bed when I first came out here and I was doing my apprenticeship. I rented a place for a little while. I can't even remember. Basically, like, the idea of a real bed with a real mattress is something I gave up as a thing a long time ago. My van, the way it's designed and the amount of space I have, even a twin bed is bigger than the bed that I have. So, yeah. And I wish I could say it was a big deal, and it really wasn't. Like, honestly, I slept as well in the apartment as I do in my van. There wasn't like, oh my God, this is like such a dream in comparison to the van. Like, even the cot I had when I originally moved into the van was fine, and I had nothing on that. It was literally just a cot, and I was in a sleeping bag. And maybe that just like sort of lowered my sensitivity to these things. But anyway, I had the cot in the sleeping bag when I first moved into the van. Then I made a bed that was made out of plywood and basically just had foam on top of it. And then I was in my sleeping bag again. And now I have the new camping cot with the micro mattress, and I'm back in my sleeping bag again. And honestly, like, the comfort in between the two isn't that big of a deal to me. It was a nice bed. There was nothing wrong with it, but like it wasn't like, oh my God, this is a dream in comparison. Like, it honestly wasn't that big of a deal. So the kitchen, and this includes the fact that there was a large fridge and a microwave, which was obviously nice. I did exploit that microwave at first because it had been a while since I had a microwave. But honestly, like towards the end when I was intentionally trying to like change my habits, so I was wrapping my brain around the fact that, this is not my reality for like making food, especially since I want to carry over a lot of the healthy food habits I've been trying to create into the van. I actively started to make the choice to not use the microwave at all. I did use it today just because I was cleaning up the apartment and I didn't want to mess up any pots. And since my food was like a pre-prepared portion from a previous creation. It was already in a storage container, so I just popped that in the microwave, heated it up real quick, and ate it. But really the only reason was I didn't want to dirty up any dishes. The food has tasted fine coming out of a pan, if not better. So not using the microwave honestly mostly leads to better food than using the microwave. So it's never been a big deal for me to have a microwave again, but obviously it's one of those things that when you have it, you want to try it. The other big thing in the kitchen was just the fridge was bigger. So one of the problems I run into with like a small chest fridge, like the one in the car, is that let's say my milk is running low. Well, I really can't buy another milk until I run completely out. With the fridge, it was like once I was getting low, I could get a second one, and I already had that second one ready to go as that other one ran out. Whereas a lot of times with the chest fridge, I'll make sure I'm completely out before I buy like the next one, and milk is just an example. Eggs, I always get like the small carton of eggs because I don't want like eggs to be taking up too much space in there. There's just a lot of different decisions I made, and I thought I got myself down to enough food that when I went out camping at the beginning of the week, I could fit everything back into the fridge and everything would be transferred over and I wouldn't have to worry about it. And I still had too much food in the fridge and I cut it down significantly. It's weird because when I first got here, and then the shutdown started to happen, and I wasn't sure when they were going to tell me to leave the apartment. I wasn't buying that much. And then when they were like, you can stay until June 1st, I started to have doubles and backups in ways I would not in Vanlife. Right now there's a couple of things where I'm trying to get down to one of it, just so it's taking up less space. It's one of the reasons I haven't done an updated tour, because right now the place feels a little more cluttered than I thought it would feel like moving in, and some of that has been food storage. Now, the good thing about food is eventually you eat it, and so at some point it'll sort of balance itself back out, and I'll start to buy based on the amount of storage space I have. And it wasn't even just the cold food, the refrigerated food, the perishable food. There were also a little bit of an excess of dry goods that I need to cut down a little bit just because my storage space can't handle it. I'm in a minivan. But honestly, those things aren't a big deal. I've already built a life around the fact that I have a limited amount of space and having a shopping cycle that accommodates that little bit of space. And that'll be really easy to ease back into. What I will miss is just standing up in the kitchen. Also, the fact that the kitchen is a separate unit from everything else. So to cook in my van, I have to put up my table, and then I have to put the stovetop on top. And this is assuming I'm not in a camping experience where I can separate things. And even still, I only have one table. So what I could do was, like, if there was something that was going to take a second, especially in the oven, I could put something in the oven, I could set a timer, I could go, like, do some work on the table in the dining room, which is just a table in the main space, and then go back into the kitchen as needed. I could float between tasks. Once I am concentrated on cooking in the van, I have to just focus on cooking because it takes up all of the space. And so all the space available to me is being like given to the van, because usually my stove is here and then I'm reaching in the cabinets and then like doing this thing, that thing, and the other thing. And until all of that is cleaned up and put away, I can't concentrate on another task on that table. And it was nice to have this stand-up kitchen where I could just walk into it. And it's one of the things I'm going to miss. It's one of the reasons I want a bigger van. It's one of the ways I feel like I'm outgrowing the amount of space I have. And that it's starting to... I don't even know how to phrase it, but it has definitely kicked up my desire for a larger space where I can do some stand-up cooking. So yeah, and honestly, my steps did go down this week. Like, my normal amount of steps dropped, and it was because when I get up in the morning here, I have to stand up out of my bed. I have to walk around the bed into the kitchen. I have to do the kitchen tasks, etc., etc. Whereas when I'm in the van, I'm laying down. I sit up. I have to stay seated because there's nowhere to go. And then I do all of my morning tasks, like literally if I sponge bath, if I brush my teeth, whatever I do just, and all by never getting up, because I just sit up in bed and do them. And a lot of times if you're urban camping, especially, like, that's your only choice. So that sort of makes me sad as well. And that's another reason I want a standing van, just so, like, I can get out of bed and force myself to, like, stand up. So I think it's even less about length. Is like, I'm really interested in either a standing van or a shuttle bus or something, a box truck, an ambulance, whatever, something that will allow me to create a space where I stand up in the morning and I walk around a little more to do tasks. Because I think, well, there were a lot of reasons for it, but the reduction in the amount of steps I was doing, even though I was still intentionally doing my exercises every day, it was kind of troublesome. And the steps that aren't going to go away is the steps you kind of have to do every day. And it's like, yes, I can set myself a goal number, but as life starts to increase, as I start to work odd jobs again, as whatever happens, I want to know, like, I'm not defaulting to not taking those steps, and standing up and, like, stretching my legs. And yes, I'm conscious of it, and yes, it's something I focus on, but I really enjoyed the standing kitchen. Like, I can't get away from that. So let's talk about the fact I had a couch and a TV in the space. I literally never turned on the TV. In my van, I watch everything on streaming, usually on my phone or on the tablet. And honestly, I just continued to do that. There was no reason to turn on the TV. I wasn't interested in turning on the TV. I literally never powered on the TV. Also, and I've seen this design in RVs where the TV is in some awkward place that doesn't make sense with where the couch is. So the couch is here, and if you're sitting on the couch, the only thing you're looking at is the bed over here, which doesn't make any sense. Like, the TV is good. I guess it's good, kind of good for laying in bed and watching TV. But, like, if you had a friend over and you were sitting on the couch, like, you can't watch the TV. So a lot of times I ended up setting up my device on the nightstand, and then, you know, maybe watching a show until I got really sleepy, maybe putting on an audiobook and having the audiobook right beside me. My phone was my alarm, and I did start using an alarm to make sure I was getting up to get exercise in. So, like, honestly, the TV was pointless. I never used it, never turned it on. I also ended the couch on, honestly, it just ended up collecting junk. It became the place to throw stuff. Like, the number of times I actually used the couch as a couch, and even the chair here, the chair as a chair, is so, like, low. Like, I completely ignored those items. So as far as, like, the living room style items and the TV, I literally had no use for them. So yeah, that was that. The backyard. I loved the backyard here. I used it every day for exercise. If this was an apartment I was paying for, that would be the winning part of it, since I live on a second level. And obviously, I've just talked about this before, trying to start doing exercise DVDs at home, which is something I would prefer, even if the gyms weren't closed. Having that backyard be so accessible for that particular task was wonderful. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's good for other things like gatherings and parties and just chilling. But the biggest value to me of that backyard was it was an easily accessible space outside where I could exercise. And honestly, I like exercising outside. So yeah, I've grown to really, really like it, to be in the fresh air, to be in open space. And that's, like I said, even if the gyms were open, that would be my preferred way to exercise. I am going to miss the backyard. Yes, you can use parks and public places to exercise in, but you really never know what you're getting. There's times I've searched for a public park and it was just not a good place to set up and exercise. And so I'd get to the park and yeah, it'd be a bust. And then I would have to go on Google and try to find another park. And then I would go to that park and, like, it might be a good thing or not. Sometimes things are labeled parks, like, especially in, like, small town, small, city areas, and they're not quite like park in the traditional way your brain thinks about it, or like it's a park that's only a part of like an apartment complex or something like that. So that was really tricky. And just knowing like I couldn't exercise in the apartment because I was afraid it would be too noisy for downstairs neighbors. I felt really comfortable like always just going down the stairs and going into the backyard, and that was a really great thing. It's the one good thing about this setup. But yeah, that was my feelings on that. So the bathroom. Obviously, that was my favorite part. I like the fact that it wasn't just a shower. It was a shower with a bath. Bath is the thing I get to experience rarely. So that was nice and accessible. And obviously, there was a sink in the bathroom, which meant I could brush my teeth at a sink. I usually am brushing my teeth over like a spit cup or a bowl without running water. I have to I have a little spray bottle with water in it, and then I just spray down my toothbrush and do my thing. But it's definitely harder. The bathroom was great. I liked it. It was big. It was roomy. No complaints about the bathroom. Obviously, that was tons easier than my van. So in general, having unlimited electricity and uninterrupted Wi-Fi whenever I was here in the apartment was great. So I basically have my phone, which I can turn into a hotspot, and then I have my tablet, which I cannot, even though I'm about to call AT&T and ask them, if it's possible to change that situation, just because when I was out camping, I had access to AT&T sometimes through my tablet, but I wasn't able to share that Wi-Fi connection with other devices, and it would have been nice to be able to do that, such as my phone. Wi-Fi calling doesn't work on my phone, but also that's another thing where I can just call and see if I can make that change. But it's nice that if my phone is working, it can always share its internet connection with another device, but that's not true with my tablet. So if my tablet is the only thing that's working, but there's functions that it can't do that another device can, I would love it if it could share its internet connection with another device. So it's just something I need to call AT&T about, see what the change in cost would be to sort of add that and really explore that. But at the end of the day, the kind of Wi-Fi you get in a house is really hard to replicate outside of it. It's getting better and better out there as far as hotspots and other ways to have Wi-Fi if you're living on the road and all. But, as far as that, like I said, it can't match the experience of just coming in here and then boom, you have this, unlimited Wi-Fi. So that part was obviously really, really good. Unlimited electricity. I've had to change the way I charge again. When I was in the apartment, I routinely charged everything I could overnight. And that is just not smart in the van. I usually have to charge my phone overnight because it's the one, device that's kind of going all the time and doing a lot of tasks. But if there's nothing else I'm doing besides charging my phone and keeping the fridge on all night, that's preferred, because the only time my electricity is being renewed is during the day. So the best time to get devices charged up, if I'm just charging them up to have them charged just in case, is during the day, not overnight. Even if I have power in the rock pals, which isn't directly connected to my solar system, but I charge it up via the solar system, etc. Even my separate little power bank, it's I want to protect power overnight as much as possible, unlike in the apartment where it's the same amount of electricity all the time, no matter what. In the van, if I use electricity, the only time it's going to be renewed is the next day. And what happened is I ran into a very overcast day where I was barely getting electricity, and I had a really tough day. It was the first time I had struggled with deciding if I should turn the fridge off for a little bit. I had never had that problem before. Now, part of it is, honestly, my solar system could use another 100-watt panel, but there's no logical place to put it right now, and I also don't know that I want to make that investment when I'm focusing sort of my future on upgrading my van. Like, honestly, that I want to direct most of my money to getting a larger van. And that's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen next month. It's way down the line before people get overexcited. So, honestly, when I drive more, the solar system is more compensated. And so it's really a question of what's going to happen as we move forward. But either way, the only time I'm getting more electricity is during the day. So if I deplete myself too much as I start to lose sun, then unless I'm going to drive overnight, or there's some way I'm going to drive and then use the charge of the driving to charge the battery as opposed to the sun charging the battery, because I do both. It's problematic to put a lot of power drain on the solar system overnight, and I could plug in anything I wanted here and have it charge overnight. So that was really nice, but that's a fixable thing as far as like transitioning back into van life. I need more power, but I feel like I need the bigger vehicle first. And so, like, as far as like places I put my money that's going to benefit me in the long term versus things that are going to benefit me in the short term, because in the short term I can work around it, but it just means like really thinking about if there's something I want charged, or when I finish with, say, my camera, my little GoPro like camera. It's not a GoPro, it's a GoPro knockoff. Like, if I know I'm going to use that the next day, or I want to play with my drone, then after I finish playing with it, I need to plug it in and so I have it to fool around with in the morning, or I'm going to have to wait out the middle of the day when I'm getting a decent amount of solar before I start charging these extra things, because my priorities overnight are just the fridge and the phone continuing to function. Whereas here, I could plug in like 20 things and it wouldn't really matter. Everything would work, and I didn't really have to think about how much power I was using from moment to moment, or at least as the sun went down. So given all of these thoughts and sort of reflections on having lived in this apartment for, I guess, going on 3 months, I've really lost track at this point with everything that was going on. Would I go back to apartment life? Because obviously there's a lot of things that's just better in the apartment. Bigger bed, an actual bed, having a kitchen, the bathroom, laundry, not necessarily free, because every apartment I've ever actually paid for, I had to pay for laundry. I maybe lived in one with a roommate where we had our own washing machine in the apartment, and that's because she was determined we weren't going to get an apartment unless the laundry was inside the apartment. But it was, there's just better, easier things in house life, or in apartment life, or sticks and bricks life. So would I ever, after this experience, go back to apartment living? And the answer is still no. Absolutely not. Honestly, I was given the option of staying here an additional month for free. I could have stayed here until June 30th. I am voluntarily leaving at my semi-original, slightly revised exit date of June 1st. Because obviously my original exit date was April 19th. And when they offered the June 1st, I thought the smartest thing I could do was stay through June 1st. I do think that was the smartest decision still. But I still don't want to be back in an apartment. Even if I found a place like this by myself and I wouldn't have to live with roommates, which is not going to happen in the Bay Area, I wouldn't want it. In fact, if I had been willing to take on a small rent after next month, arrangements also could have been made that would have involved rent until I felt like I was ready to move out or whatever. And I'm not only did I not want to get into a situation where I was paying rent, I also just wasn't even interested in the additional free month. I don't know what I would get out of that free month. I'm also I'm ready to move on and move forward with what life is going to be. I came out here for a reason, and that reason sort of got derailed by COVID-19. And now I kind of need to start putting myself back in the place of what my next steps are going to be. It's been an unexpected sort of like separation from life as it really is, and I think I'm feeling it's that time to step back in. Besides the fact there's just stuff I need to take care of that I cannot take care of if I am here out of state. And so I just need to get back to California. Now, mind you, I could have went to California and then came back and still had this apartment for free for another month. But I just don't want to have those strings hanging. Like, I'm ready to cut the strings, get back into the van, live my real life, and like move forward with whatever's coming next.